Hey Steelers Nation, it's Joe Rockey with the Pittsburgh Syndicate. In today's episode, we are going to be breaking down the official schedule. And I'm going to be putting context as well as from the Steelers, but from what the teams that are playing us and what their recent history coming into that game will be to give a more illuminated and deeper context to the conversation rather than just going win-loss without any analysts. Now, before I begin, I do want to continue a conversation and question I've asked every member of Steelers Nation for the last couple of weeks. If you have any contact person at all inside any of the Steelers foundations or charities, please reach out to me by clicking this button right up here. And what I'm going to ask for you is send me that contact person and what their contact information is, phone number, email, whatever. And the reason for that is I want to spotlight these causes and these events as well as I can. And they do a lot of great good, and I want to show that to all of Steelers Nation. You may want to become a part of it. You may want to be involved, and flat out knowing more about them than the snippet you get in an Edgar Schneider commercial can go a long way. Now, that being said, let's dive into the official schedule. As I said earlier in the week when I broke down the schedule based upon the NFL power rankings, one of the teams I wanted to play first, without a doubt, we got on week one, which is the San Francisco 49ers. A top 10 team according to NFL's power rankings, but it won't be that in week one. Reason? They don't know who their quarterback is. Purdy, who took the job, is injured. Will he be healthy or not? Will he have a rush training camp? It's one of the big problems in San Francisco right now. The other one is Trey Lance is basically a complete and utter bust. The guy can't make read progressions. He doesn't throw the ball well. He's under 50% passer. So all of those things are good starting points for your home opener against a team that you know later in the year is going to be a buzzsaw. So I also look at this game from the lens of the defense. This is a great way to test, in what a lot of ways is a revamped Steelers defense, and see what's going on. Brandon Ayuk is probably going to be put on Porter. And the reason for that is that they are similar. Ayuk, for those who have had him in fantasy, is an all-or-nothing type player. He easily can disappear from a roster for about 3 weeks. It is incredibly common for him. He's that type of guy. And if Porter is able to show that he can take a speedster down the field guy who's got some size and take him out of the game, it's a tremendous starting point for the season. But obviously, Deebo Samuel is their main guy. And it'll be a good starting spot to say, we all have the faith that the Hall of Famer we got is going to be able to shut them down. Well, Deebo has the potential when he steps up his game to be a top 5 receiver in this NFL. And if Peterson can also, erase him from the game, it's a big sign. Now, I do expect that to be easier because of all the quarterback situation I said before. Trey Lance becomes a deer in the headlights, and the brightness of TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith are pretty damn bright. But the other thing that San Francisco has that's amazing is one of the very few tight ends that's on par with Kittle, or with Kelsey, which is Kittle. And I want to see how good the Steelers are at taking the tight end out of the game. With Edmonds on this roster for the last 5 years, we have been incredibly spoiled by having tight ends basically doing nothing against the Pittsburgh Steelers unless their name was Gronkowski. So with that being said, Kittle, one of the top 3 tight ends in the NFL without a doubt. How will the combination of the Steelers defense, which I believe will be primarily kneel on him, how will they take him out of the game? It's a very interesting look for week one. And then just another side nugget about the Niners before we jump over to Cleveland is that 2 years ago in the 2021 season, when their pass coverage was covering a ball that was thrown 15 yards or less from the line of scrimmage, they were the absolute best pass defense in the NFL. Following that, they were the worst. And those trends pretty much continued to last year. Now, granted, I get this information from the Sports Almanac of Football Outsiders. That hasn't come out yet. But for those that watch me on Local Football Flavor in our various betting and fantasy shows, you will see that that was also a trend last year. Deep players could get behind the Niners while the underneath stuff couldn't. And it's going to be an interesting look to see how the Steelers adjust and attack that. Do we have Kenny start pushing the ball downfield and a team that's pretty vulnerable in doing so? And that's one of the things I like about the Steelers' early schedule. We're playing against some defenses that are pretty vulnerable. So let's roll into the Cleveland game. We play Cleveland on Monday Night Football here at home. And the reason I love the fact that this is on Monday night, even though historically Heinz Field, Acrisure, is less field and less loud on night games in the last recent year post-COVID, the reason I'd really like the fact that this is on Monday and at home is because last year, teams after playing the Niners only had one win. It was a weird anomaly, but it's a testament to the power running game that they brought to the team. And that's why, going back to the Niners game, controlling the ball will be so important, and getting a big lead and force them to throw equally as important. Because if you can save the run defense for us, the Steelers, it's a tremendous advantage moving into the following week. So we're going to be playing Cleveland, who's going to be playing 2 division games to start the season. They start the year by basically going to Cincinnati. And for a lot of ways, from the Cleveland perspective, that's essentially their season in a nutshell. If they go in there and Watson completely horrible, completely outshined by Burrow, and that defense still can't stop the run with the Bengals team that only has an above average, certainly not great or elite running game, they can be so immensely deflated. That being said, they haven't won in Pittsburgh in a regular season game since they've come back. So we got to remember that as well. But I love the fact that this is a night game. And not to just shoo off the fact it's a Browns, and I did explicitly say I don't want to see the Browns in week 1. It's so anticlimactic. It's probably going to have a similar vibe. You know, I don't see this being like the early Thursday night game last year where we just weren't able to get together. And yes, we lost that game by double digits, but it was really a late second interception. The other key thing is Trubisky won't be playing in this game. So with Kenny, with the running game going, I really think that this is going to be a good chance to showcase what the Steelers are going to look like this year. I think that, you know, early season game, guys, it's going to still be warm out there. Let's fill the place up, because this could be an easy start to a 2-0 great start here. And it's something to really get behind, because this team has the ability to create a lot of momentum early in the year. And if you also do that at the same time of making the Browns go 0-2, how awesome is that? Week 3, we are going to Las Vegas for their season opener in a game which I hope there is more yellow than gold, guys. I mean, who doesn't want to go to Vegas in the first place? It's the Steelers. We all travel. And quite frankly, when I look at the schedule and the timing of it, it's the one I want to go to. So when we look at this, home field advantage aside, Oakland's going to have a pretty tricky start to this season. They're starting at Denver's home opener, which is historically a very hard place to win the first game of the year. It just is, despite the fact that that team's a train wreck. And then after that, they're going cross-country to Buffalo. So there's a very real chance that the Raiders will be 0-2 and desperate for their lives. And we will be seeing all of those statistics. If a team starts 3-0, likelihood of them making the playoffs. If a team starts 0-3, likelihood of them making the playoffs. And when you start balancing these factors around, it's like, oh, okay, that's a big deal there. But overall, we're having ourselves a night game. And Sunday Night Football is Tomlin's time to shine. And I am really excited for this for that reason. You're coming off a Monday night game, then a Sunday night game. It's the first road game. We can have a lot of momentum going there. There's not a whole lot on the Raiders that jumps off the page as scary. It's going to be a bad matchup. To me, this is going to be one of these games where, you know, the Steelers are a letter grade better than this team in basically every capacity. You know, will Crosby be able to be shut down by the offensive line? That's going to be a part of the key part of this. But the Raiders have basically set them up as saying, we have one elite stud. Can you stop him in Adams? And that's what we got Peterson for. I mean, long story short, if Peterson can take Adams out of the game and the running game can stop Josh Jacobs, they don't have other weapons anymore. I mean, the Vegas Raiders, which still sounds weird. I keep calling them Oakland because it felt more natural. But regardless, the Raiders don't have a whole lot of, let's go get them out there. And I really do think that we're going to have these conversations of Steelers 3-0, y'all. This is going to be awesome. Week 4, we go to Houston. Now, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time specifically on this matchup because I think we're going to absolutely destroy them. Houston will be coming off of 2 games against their division, the Colts in week 2 and Jacksonville in week 3. And while Jacksonville has a little bit of a wear you down effect, probably the 4th hardest on our schedule that we have this year in terms of that factor, Houston just doesn't have anything going. And I'm going to go on a quick fantasy and cultural side note about why they won't have anything going for a while. First, the happy fantasy note. 4 of their 5 projected startup offensive linemen are first-round picks. They don't have a second running back. So if you're looking for getting a steal in the second round, look at Pease. Right now, he's projected to be a late second, third round guy. I think when a time fantasy is all said and done, he's going to be worth a first-round pick. Now, that being said, as you see, Elite Business Conversations up here, I teach people how to be better at sales and how to make a business culture. And the reason that's important is because longevity comes from your culture. Last year, the Houston Texans had 24 players leave their roster that they did not replace, at least with the same bodies. So they brought in new players, and 15 of their free agency signings are for one-year deals. And this is why Ron Cook from the Fan is 100% wrong. He tries to make an argument that there's no such thing as a bad one-year deal. And I contend that every single one-year deal is a bad deal. And here's the basic, simple reason why. You're the Houston Texans, and really if you're any team, if it starts sliding mid-season, you start off 1-4 or 0-4, which is totally possible looking at their record. They have at Baltimore, hosting Colts, at Jacksonville. Maybe they pop one of those division games, but it's not looking optimistic up front after Pittsburgh comes in and beats you as well. You're not on this team next year. They're not going to want to bring back a bunch of losers again. You can't sell that to the fan base. So now as an individual player on a one-year deal, you're already looking out the door, and it's October. So this is why a one-year deal is horrible. And I bring this up specifically to credit Colbert and Kahn. We don't do one-year contracts. Almost every single one of our deals, even when it's someone on a make-it term, is a 2-year contract. In reality, they're mostly one-year deals with the Steelers having an option to keep you. But the difference is culture 101. And this is part of the Steelers way. If things go sideways for the Steelers and you're here next year, you're not figuring out how to make yourself more presentable and attractive to the universal NFL. You're focusing on how can I make myself the best player for this team and this coaching staff, which leads to longer buy-in and better results throughout the entire season. Houston flat out did not do that. Aside from the fact that they completely made the mistake with their quarterback selection, Stroud will probably never have a winning record in Houston because this problem and the fact that it's a poor nest as it is just gets ripped apart next year. And if they replace it again with even the correct way of doing 2 or 3 year contracts, it will take 2 years for the team to gel. Well, now we're in year 3 and we're wondering and giving him all the pressure in the world of, is he an NFL quarterback? Whenever his collective record is probably about a 33 winning percentage. Well, that's not going to be good for anyone. Houston's offseason was about as horrendous as it could be, and it's not for the reasons everyone's citing. And oh, by the way, they gave up their first round pick, which will probably be the first pick overall next year. So, again, not diving super deep into the actual game the Steelers have with the Houston, I want to give Kahn and Colbert all kinds of credit because the nest they built for Kenny here is the way to do it. And we look at another team that has been trying to do this and should have done it well. They had better resources than us. And oh man, it's pathetic. It's pathetic what the Houston Texans have done. Hey Steelers Nation, hope you guys enjoyed weeks 1 to 4 here today. Tomorrow we'll be bringing up obviously the next portion of the schedule. So as always, if you guys know anyone at any of the players' foundations or causes, I would love to speak to them. It's very important to me to try to have this happen. I really want and think it's going to be very meaningful for everyone involved. And I want to be able to use this platform at the Pittsburgh Steelers Syndicate to put a spotlight on all the good that they're doing. So as always, I'm loving the way the team looks. I'm loving the way that this season will be progressing. Weeks 1 to 4 are going to be fun. So here we go, Steelers. Here we go.